And we're live. Welcome to the Gen X-Men podcast. I am Ant.
And I'm Daz. Nice to see you all again.
Yes, and nice to see you in your room and me standing in front of the curtain.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, this is a very much a new thing for us now, isn't it? You know, we've sort of gone down the road of doing this, online gubbins thing to see if we can actually, do this stuff remotely, so that we don't have to get together all the time. You know, not that we don't like doing that, because it normally involves the drinking of beer and having a good time. So,
yeah, it's just a little bit
more convenient, but only when it works.
Exactly. And again, if we want to get guests on, unfortunately, Rory Sutherland's people sort of said he's got too busy for our show. I don't think we're big enough personally at the moment. So once we grow from our 19 subscribers, maybe we can start getting someone on. But yeah, I mean, it isn't quite the same. And we were saying off air, weren't we, that it's a bit weird not being in the same room together, because you don't really get that vibe and rapport going. But
that's right.
It was a bit of fun and games earlier in the week, wasn't it? Trying to work this technology out.
Exactly. Yeah, it's been not without a modicum of stress, really. But yeah, talking of drinks, I've actually got a rather nice winter warmer Ribena on the go. It's sort of reminiscent of mulled wine or something. It's got cinnamon in it, and it's actually quite nice. It says serve hot, so I'm having a warm one today instead of a cold one. So
very good, yeah, because it is bloody freezing out there. So yeah. Anyway, so you were sort of saying about our experiences of trying to get this tech working.
Yeah, I mean, anyone that's seen the, can I call it a trailer to this one, where we were sort of muddling our way through it?
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, the last episode that went up, that people obviously like, because we've had 85 views already, which I was quite surprised.
Well, that's good. I mean, it was our first attempt at really sort of playing around with it, wasn't it? And it's a little bit of a faff, but I'm sure with a little bit of practice, we'll actually get the hang of it.
Yeah, well, I think unlike a lot of people, because lockdown didn't really affect me, and I don't think you were working in an environment where you needed to use this technology for work. I've never used this before, so that was my first attempt. You hear it on the news, and you see people, being brought in on news programs, but they know what they're doing. We're just a couple of 50-something numpties that are going, what the fuck?
Exactly, yeah. I mean, when lockdown kicked in, I lost most of my students overnight, and there was one chap that wanted to have a go at doing online lessons with me, and I thought, well, I haven't really got much of a clue how to do that, but I downloaded this program called Zoom meeting or something, and the amount of faffing around that I had to go through to get that not to work, to be honest, because it never actually even did end up working properly. Yeah. It was always something that wasn't compatible.
Yeah. Well, and you are a bit of a Luddite when it comes to technology. I thought I was
completely
bad.
I am a complete anachronism for the modern world. I really am. I don't belong here, really. And I shouldn't.
Man, Daz.
I really shouldn't be messing about with this stuff. My hi-fi. You've seen my hi-fi, haven't you? It's all valves and things like that. I kind of understand all that, and it works. I don't even have to know how it works. It just does.
Yeah.
But one of the things I hate about technology is that you're running a program, or you sign on to some sort of website, or you do something, and the computer comes up with this dialog box, and it says, would you like to invoke XYZ -1 protocol? And it's like, how the fuck do I know? Don't ask me. Just make it work.
Yeah.
And these are not the sort of things that end users really need to worry about. If the program needs to do something, then just bloody well do it. Don't ask me, because I don't know.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about my hi-fi. It's 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 largely valve technology. You switch it on and it just works.
Yeah.
I don't know how it does what it does, but it just does, and it doesn't ask me to put passwords in and all that old crap,
I've just written a little note. I'm going to call this the Error 404 episode.
Syntax error. Press enter.
exactly. It's the miracle before Christmas. So, I'm sure you've got some notes. I've got a couple of bits and bobs because, as you know, I did work in the computer industry in the 90s during the dot-com boom and bust, and so I've got personal experiences to chat about. But and hence I know a little bit more about technology, but more from a
Damn sight more
historical
than
point
me.
of view. So, yeah, I mean, why don't you kick things off? That's our sort of early gripe. I'm sure we're going to be griping about a lot more things because my biggie is WordPress. I used to love blogging,
Yeah,
and being a journalist and a diarist and what have you, and then they changed all of the tech and the setup and everything, and I just went, what the fuck? This is just, it's not fun, and you get to bring in modules and blocks and bits, and I went, this is fucking stupid. So that's
exactly. Well,
my personal
isn't that just typical of things? Things are always updated. And are you familiar? I'm sure you are. You're familiar with the phrase, "If it isn't broke, don't fix it."
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
And a lot of the time in the realms of the technological world, people are just fixing stuff that isn't broken. Constantly, people are griping about how they've had to.
I had to get myself a new phone. Okay, thankfully the company bought it for me, because my old one just totally crapped out. The battery just shut down, and it wanted to update rubbish all the time. Went not compatible with your phone, and I'm thinking, I only bought
Well,
it 2
this is
years
it.
ago. I mean,
Yeah.
nonsense.
I
It's a
mean,
fucking racket.
it is. I mean, we all know that there's built-in obsolescence to most things. Otherwise, the economy would just crash because sort of people would only ever sell something once and then they'd go out of business because they don't need to ever sell it again.
I feel like we've got built-in obsolescence, actually, mate.
Absolutely, or humans have, yeah, completely. But when something's, I mean, I've over the years, I've come across so many, conversations with people where they're having conversations about a specific piece of software or a specific program that they're using, and they've downloaded the latest version or they've downloaded some plugin for it or whatever. And now there's a million people on this thread all trying to sort of like ask each other questions about why none of it works anymore. And, what do you have to do to get XYZ plugin to work with, Protocol Z1 or whatever the bullshit may be. And everyone's having the same problems. You get something that works and then somebody updates it or creates an auxiliary kind of thing to work with it, and then that might work, but nothing else does after that. And I'm sure there is a reason why this is not going to happen, and maybe somebody can enlighten us as to what it is. But I really honestly think that the world needs another VHS Betamax moment. Where everyone decides what the fuck it is they want to use, and then just get rid of all the other crap. It's because it really is just a faff, isn't it? Trying to utilise any of this stuff,
Well,
So one of my gripes was
Yeah.
Updates actually, and how you can update something, and then all of a sudden, a lot of the other things don't actually work anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, Microsoft is terrible for that. I've got a new phone, but now I've got to get a new laptop because I'm still running Windows 10, and it says sometime next year nothing's going to be supported. Windows 10 won't be supported. I've got to upgrade to Windows 11, but I can't because my laptop's too rubbish. And you sort of think, this is where I get it with all these eco numpties that are all like, oh, save the planet, climate change this, climate change that. If you actually look at the core root of the world, everything is, as you were saying earlier, obsolescence. And I mean, this thing's going to go in a junk heap. It's not going to get recycled because it can't be recycled. They're not front-ending things to be recycled.
No.
And this is where I think Ed Miliband and Starmer's Barmy Army are going to just completely tank this country on all levels. I mean, we discussed the budget. At some point, I'm sure we can discuss Ed Miliband, that I actually thought was pop group. Um, but
Ed
it's now
Miliband,
some psychotic politician. The Ed Miliband was like. But
supporting
yeah,
the Steve
so I mean,
Miliband somewhere near you.
yeah, I mean, getting back to your point of obsolescence and what have you, and Betamax and VHS, I see that because I'm loving playing with AI at the moment, chatting
Yeah,
with the GBT thing, and I'm actually helping some of the friends from my wine group. Her dad escaped from Poland during World War II and wrote some memoirs, but more as notes rather than a story. Actually published in the Telegraph many decades ago,
oh right,
apparently. And I'm helping her to write it into a novel using ChatGPT, which is great because you can just dump text and data in and
yeah.
go, write this like a John le Carre novel. And it would go, certainly, I'd be obliged to do that. And boom, in seconds, zhush, it was a cold and frosty night in the Polish tundra. Blah, 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 blah. And I was like, wow, that would have taken me a week to write that. So I can sort of see a future where there are people like yourself that don't want to get involved with technology and sort of almost become this one society. And then those that want to actually merge with the technology, because you can get fucking head implants and shit now. So that,
Yeah, apparently so.
bonkers stuff that really adopt it and almost become like the Doctor Who Cybermen stuff that are, off the charts smart and what have
Yeah,
you. I mean, I could rattle on endless about AI, so maybe we'll have maybe we'll ask our audience, if you want me to rattle on about AI, put a little note in the comments section and maybe also put what your big gripes are because we could sort of chat about that or maybe have some people on to
exactly.
gripe,
Yeah. You-
Um,
Uh, leave a note for any ideas that you think we've missed. Um, but yeah, I mean, maybe that is the next kind of evolutionary step of the human race is to sort of embrace technology and incorporate it within the biological structure. But I mean, I certainly don't want a part of any of that. I'll quite happily get to my 70 and check the fuck out because the way the world's going, I don't want any part of it. To be honest with you, I
yeah.
just want to sit around, drink some decent wine, play a couple of frames of pool, and keep myself well and truly fucking under the radar. I mean,
Well, again,
doing
unfortunately,
a YouTube channel might not exactly be the best way of keeping out under the radar. I admit that, so don't bother putting it in the comments because I'm not that fucking
who,
stupid.
who are you? Who are you again? Sorry. I was going to say, I think it's going to be a long time off before we get spotted on the streets. And I know I've been spotted before for some of the acting roles I've done in the past. And
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, I just like to keep myself off the radar as much as is humanly possible, and it's not really that possible these days because you have to sort of engage in a certain amount of technology these days, whether you want to or not.
yeah,
Stuff like online banking, and you're always on camera in Tesco's when you do the weekly shop, and even at the checkouts and everything on those. I mean, I don't use them to be honest.
car parks are the things that fuck me off. Is that unless you've got their app, you can't park in certain car parks. I mean,
Yeah,
absolutely drove me and Audrey potty the other day. We were in, I think, Maidstone, and the ticket machine thing didn't work. And it went, well, phone this number and go through the instructions and this, that, and the other. And that thing wasn't working. But because we'd had our car parked in there for 15 minutes while we tried to fuck around with everything, it then
yeah,
sent us a fine notice. And thankfully, we
really,
disputed it with them. Yeah, they wanted 75 fucking quid for being parked. Oh,
Jesus
you're parked
Christ.
there without a ticket. It's like, well, we couldn't get a fucking ticket. Watch your CCTV footage. And they actually
Yeah,
sort of said, oh, we'll refund it then. But you just think, what a load of bollocks,
it is, isn't it? It's just technology for technology's sake is what grinds my gears most of all because technology in its place is actually quite useful, I think, but I mean, I've got this Ringo app for the car parks, and fortunately, most of the car parks I've ever been in have used the Ringo app, and once it's all set up and stuff and it works, then it seems to behave itself, and the good thing is you can update it from wherever you are. So
has it got a Liverpudlian accent? Does it go, "Hello, I'm one of the Beatles. Hey, do you want to? You can't bark here. Can't bark here. Hey, calm down."
Wouldn't it be good if it did, um, but no, I mean, if you're in a restaurant and you've had particularly slow service and you're still waiting for your pudding, then you can sort of get on your phone and stick another hour on the car park without actually having to get up and go to the car park. So it's kind of useful in that way. But
that's a brilliant idea. Yeah, that's good. That's technology doing something that's good. Useful. Yeah,
but yeah, it's kind of when it doesn't work, or when you go to a car park with a completely different app, and it's like, well, I haven't got that on my phone. So, I mean, I remember a couple of years ago now, me and my mate Steve and another mutual friend of ours went to Ashford. We sort of positioned ourselves in a car park, parked the car, and then realised that none of us had the means to actually pay for anything. And we were all scrabbling around trying to find an app that we could use, but there was no, surrounded by sort of like 10,000 tons of concrete, we couldn't get a signal anywhere to download an app. So like your situation, we're in the car park 20 minutes without having sort of any payment being made. And so these things are a bit of a fart about, really, aren't they? Half the time.
Right. Well, let's nostalgia for a bit, because I know you said the other day that you'd finally seen the little thing about the Sinclair Spectrum. That's going
before
back
we
to
get to that, I do have. Yeah. Before we get to that, I do have one more gripe.
Yeah, go for it.
Which was email size, right? And size does matter, evidently. We've been doing a few little projects between us where we've emailed sort of files and things between us, bits of video and whatnot. And the general kind of email accounts that most people have, like Gmail and whatnot, they can't really handle the sizable files, can they? And so it's like, oh yeah, just use WeTransfer to ping it to me, and it's like, well, hang on a minute. If WeTransfer can do this with a 2 gigabyte bloody file, then why can't Gmail?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the whole thing is just unnecessary pissing around, as far as I'm concerned. And this is why I said earlier on that I think, again, if somebody's watching and they can correct me and tell me why this wouldn't work, then I'm all ears. I'm all open to knowing. But why can't technology have its VHS? Betamax moment where everyone gets together and decides exactly what it is that they want to use. It's like all these programs where you send a picture or a letter or some sort of file to somebody and they can't open it because their sort of browser or bloody program that they're using to do exactly the same sort of job as you're doing won't open it. And it's the whole thing. I mean, there are only sort of like three things that we deal with, aren't there, really? Pictures, audio and text, and I mean, okay, there might be some sort of underlying other metadata things that sort of get transferred, but I think it's about time that that all platforms and all programs were just made to work across the board, and all the people that design these programs stop asking people like me if I want to invoke XYZ protocol to open something, because I don't fucking know, okay? Yeah. You do know, so you fucking do whatever the program needs to do to make it work. And if I want to go to night school and learn what that means, I will do, But there are so many working hours lost, right? Because someone spends half a morning trying to work something out that shouldn't even fucking be there, Anyway, rant over.
Back to the Sinclair days.
You mentioned the ZX Spectrum.
Yes.
I did have a ZX Spectrum in when did it come out? 81, 82, I think.
Got to be early 80s, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was 1982. But yeah, I got a ZX Spectrum for birthday or Christmas or something. And they had loads of great games, and you could do some sort of basic programming and all that kind of stuff. And I only found out the other week that they've actually relaunched it.
Yeah, there's like a nostalgic. What do they call it? Not a vintage, but a sort of a, what do we call it? A nostalgic
Yeah,
copy
it's
relaunch.
yeah, it looks pretty much the same. It does the same thing, and you can actually program with it as well. You can do all the sort of little programs that you used to do to make your name flicker up and down the screen.
Brilliant, yeah, because I saw it's preloaded with 48 games, and I just figured that
exactly,
they brought it out as a gaming console. But great that you can actually program with it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember the little program that everybody used to do, where you used to get your name to sort of go up on the screen.
Scroll
it was
across, and yeah. Well, I remember. I didn't
10
have
your name, 20 go to 10, 30 run or whatever it was. It was the simplest thing that anybody could do. Even I could do it.
Well, basic was quite literally that was the end of my programming days back then, and I had a BBC B, 32K, whoop whoop, and the user guide was like 2-3 inches thick, and believe it or not, I think I was 14, so it was 84 when I got that. I went, wow, and spent hours going through the user guide, typing code and all of that lot. And as quite a solitary experience when you're there at your computer. But I thought, wow, one day this technology is going to advance to a point where it's actually going to get us to use more than 10% of this supercomputer between our ears.
Yeah.
And it's only now that that's starting to happen with AI. Isn't that incredible? It's been 50 odd years that it's taken to get from that level to this level. That's what amazes me. And now AI is going off the charts.
It's exponentially just wiping the floor, isn't it, with everything? It's taken 50 years, like you say, to sort of get to this level. But is it? Am I right in thinking that computer technology kind of doubles every 18 months or something?
So it's collective knowledge. So everything that there is to know, from history and technology and botany and science and da. So collective knowledge of humankind doubles every 18 months.
Wow,
which is absolutely phenomenal. But getting back to the user guide thing, this was the big epiphany for me. This is where I first got into self-development, because I looked at that user guide and went, wow, there's this massive book for this stupid lump of mechanics, for want of a better word, and yet I'm the most sophisticated biological computer on the planet. Well, not me personally, but us as human beings, and we don't come with a user guide. So believe it or not, this is how ambitious I was as a 14-year-old. I actually started to do research into what makes us work, and was going to write a human computer user guide. So that's where I first started writing about self-development and understanding it. And again, having been abused as a young child, I had a lot of questions and shit that I needed to sort out in my life. But that was my jumping in point of self-development. And wow, do I feel so lucky to have then discovered self-help books, the likes of Tony Robbins and Rich Dad Poor Dad and things like that. I put down the successes I've had in life down to getting into all that stuff as a young teenager. And I think kids today are sort of sorely missing in that, even though they have a much faster and greater access to technology through the internet and through YouTube videos and AI and what have you. And again, I have dialogues with my AI and sort of say, this is what's on my mind. What do you think? And it will come back instantaneously, almost like a psychologist, and go, "Oh, I'm sorry to hear you're having." It doesn't talk. Some of them do talk. My one doesn't. It just we type to each other, and you sort of think, why aren't people using it like that? But it's the same way we're not taught about money. You have to learn that you know nothing about money. You just trust the superiors that are around us, and they're
Yeah,
fucking idiots, and they want to keep you. It's mushroom management. They want to feed you on shit and keep you in the dark. Um,
exactly. Keep you
but
poor. You
yeah,
know.
yeah, exactly, exactly. Uh,
Yeah, it's and I must admit, I've not really had much interaction with AI. I mean, with all these things, not only do I barely even know they exist, but I just wouldn't know where to start with them. Um, but I suppose I'm going to have to get my thinking cap on with this, platform that we're using here, just to sort of, try and keep up with it. I suppose.
yeah, well,
And that's the,
next time we do a face to face, and again, I don't know if we can swing that before Christmas, but I'll show it to you because Audrey was sort of keeping it all at arm's length, and a couple of weeks ago, I sort of said, "Come on, open up like AI, and ask it to write you a limerick about a hippopotamus and a duck." And she went, "What?" And she said, "Write me a limerick about a hippopotamus and a duck." And it went, "There once was a hippo called Clyde who had a friend that was a duck that died," and blah, blah, or whatever. But literally, in microseconds, it had written this limerick. And I said, "Right, this bit will blow you away. Now tell it to write it in the style of Shakespeare." And it turned it into a bloody sonnet like that. And it wasn't half bad. As someone that's had over 60 poems published in notable poetry magazines in the past, I went, fuck me. And again, last year, when I first started playing around with this, just to test how good it was, I got it to write me a self development book. And it wrote it in 2 hours. I had to give it prompts, and I did it piece by piece. And I checked through it. A few little errors in it, but I left it all in as was and published the book. I think it's only sold like 2 copies or something, and that was like my mum and my sister or something. Um, but it was there just to prove what this technology is and to try and wake people up in a way, and to help them with personal development if they were that way inclined. I mean, maybe we'll give some copies away because I think I've got some lying around somewhere. But
cool.
I think, didn't I give you and Paul a copy back in the day?
Which one was that? Because I know I have got a couple of your books.
The AI Edge, personal development, something like that.
Oh, was that? Oh, yeah. I think I do have a copy of that. Actually, it's probably down here
I'd sort of
somewhere.
had a technology looking like a circuit board backdrop to it and
Yeah,
whatnot. But
I think I do actually have a copy of that. Yeah,
yeah,
it's but yeah, I mean, I only wish I did have the sort of brain that could get my head around all this kind of stuff. But I'm very much
you're like the bloke out of Wizard of Oz, mate.
a brain would help to start with, wouldn't it? But yeah, I mean, I'm just not cut out for all this crap, really. It's it's the keeping up with it that gets on my
Yeah,
nerves. You get to a point where you know what you're doing, and then some fucker comes along and changes it all.
yeah, yeah.
And you just think, oh bollocks, do what you fucking want. I don't.
I mean,
Give a
I
fuck.
was in the computer field for, as I said, in the '90s for about 5 years, and that was one of the top things. I was senior management by the end. Pardon me. And thankfully, that was when I first retired. But every month, you're reading the trade magazines, you're keeping up with the tech, you're talking to people, because it changes that fast. But we've hit the 25-minute mark, mate.
Okay.
And I know we're conscious of rambling on, and especially because we don't want to deter those lovely 19 subscribers that we've got, and
No, that's
maybe
right.
some new people will want to subscribe, having watched this.
Can I just mention these before we go, though?
Totally,
Because
totally, yeah,
this goes back to the ZX Spectrum,
yeah.
and now, if anyone's interested in their retro gaming or gaming in general, I'd love to have a go at these
Retro,
games.
that was the word, retro,
Oh,
not
yeah, retro,
vintage
yeah.
and nostalgic. Retro, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to have a. I mean, I've not played computer games for decades, but even I would sort of like relish the chance to have a bit of a muck around on these games again, because they bring back such fond memories of childhood and all that kind of stuff. There used to be. a company called Mastertronic years ago that used to make a lot of games for the ZX Spectrum and probably the Commodore and all that kind of stuff um, as well as other game writers and manufacturers. But
Yeah,
um,
Atari. Gosh,
sorry,
Atari. That was the first gaming console we got. That was my
yeah,
brother's
well,
Christmas present.
Pong was the first thing I ever played. But
Did you
just
say
as a sort
porn?
of like an end note here, um, some of the games that I really used to like playing on the ZX Spectrum were a game called Horace Goes Skiing, and it was just the most fun. It really was. And there was another one called Horace and the Spiders, and Horace does something else. There was a little trilogy of games, I think. And there was Monty on the Run as well, which was great. It was all about a little mole that escapes from prison, and you used to have to sort of, avoid the police and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And there was another really great game, which was, I suppose it was, I'm not sure if it was the very first game of its kind, but it certainly must have been one of them. Have you ever heard of a game called Sims, which was a
Audrey was more into gaming than me. I was never any good at them.
no,
About the only one that I could do was Donkey Kong. But
right?
Sims, yeah, it's where you had a character, wasn't it, in your little town and Sim City and all of that lot. Is that the same
Yeah,
thing?
yeah, that's the one. It's where you have take control of these sort of like virtual people and virtual towns and all that kind of thing. There was a game called the Wild Bunch, which was it was all about cowboys in the Wild West, and you had to go out and catch bandits and ride between little towns and all that kind of stuff, and and the things that you did as you were doing it sort of made you collect points and collect ammunition and collect sort of strength and health and all that kind of stuff. And it kind of reminds me of these sort of Sims-esque games, where you kind of have to build up cities and sort of like live a virtual life sort of thing. So these were really good games to
Frogger, that was another one
for
I was good at. The frog dodging all the traffic. Ready,
oh yeah.
ready, 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 ready,
Uh,
ready, ready.
there was another game that I used to love when I was a kid called Mini Munchman. It was a little yellow sort of like plastic box thing you held in your hands and played with your thumbs.
Yeah.
Um, and it's that was great, but it used to drive my parents mad because it used to have this little tune that used to go off every 10 seconds. It was and it's like, turn that effing thing off, will you? But yeah, I mean, they were some really cracking games. So, and I think Horace Goes Skiing is actually one of the games that's actually on the retro spectrum as well.
Wow.
So, but yeah, I'd love to have a bit of a go.
48 games on it, apparently. So
Yeah, yeah. I don't know what the other 47 are, but
yeah.
but yeah, it'd be,
Would
be
you
nice to have
just
a bit
plug
of
it
a play
into
on
a
it one
telly
day.
like normal, like you used to do in the olden days? Just plug it into a screen, or
Yeah, basically.
yeah,
Yeah, and it's even got the capability of emulating the time and the sound that it used to make when it was loading up from a cassette.
yeah.
So it strikes me as really kind of wholesome in a strange kind of way that we spent the last 50 years honing all this technology to do great things at light speed and all that kind of stuff, but all we really want to do now is emulate the sound of a tape machine. I
Tapes,
think that's
cool.
absolutely fantastic.
Yeah. Oh, I
Um,
mean, that you talk about tapes, because I remember that was the only way you could load programs onto the BBC B was with a little tape recorder thing.
yeah,
And if the signal didn't transfer properly, and it would take like fucking ages,
yeah,
almost like the dial-up internet back in the day.
that's
Um,
right.
and then you sort of go away, have your tea, come back, think, oh, now I can play the game, and it would be like, oh, loading error, blah
Yeah.
blah blah, and it would be like,
And it
oh,
would always do it at 99% as well.
yeah, exactly. And then I finally got a floppy disk drive, which cost me an absolute fortune in those days. And I was like, whoa, this is amazing. And then I think within a couple of years, the technology was obsolete, and the
Yeah,
thing just went up in the loft. and it vanished when I immigrated to America. So my brother probably swiped that and flogged it for a bit of money. I was going to say the C word then, but I'm trying not to. I'll just say Christmas.
Yeah, we've got them this far, Andy. We've got
The
them this
Christmas.
far.
I got this far without saying that word. There we go.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely brilliant. So, shall we have a last little get together for just as a little Christmas special? Because we've got our Santa song that we did a couple of years ago. It'd be nice to give that a bit of an airing, wouldn't it?
It would, even though it's been pulled from Spotify, unfortunately,
Was it?
as has my football song. Yeah, it got played too much, believe it or not, and they accused us of using some kind of AI bot to spaff the figures. So I think you can get it on iTunes, you can play it on YouTube. We'll put a link to YouTube to the song, but yeah, I was like, it was weird. About when was it? 2 months ago, they went, because obviously during football season, my football song got played loads, and it was on a bunch of like what they call vanity albums or whatever they're called, where there's loads of football songs, and I went, oh, Chant Like an English Fan's not on there anymore, and I was like, and of course, like Richard died, so I've got no access. I was like, that's weird. Why is that gone? You know, maybe the rest of the band and whatever pulled it. And then, fuck me, if the same thing didn't happen with the Santa song. And I then went to, who do we use? CD Baby. CD Baby, that's why it sent me an email. So there was no warning. You know,
No.
it would have been nice to have gone, are you using some kind of AI bot, or do you realise this is happening? It was just like, no, Spotify's informed us that like your play patterns are weird. But again, every Christmas, this is what really drove me nuts. Every Christmas, the song would get something like 9 or 10,000 plays because it's a fucking Christmas song. That's when it gets played. And Spotify would never pay any royalties for it. They'd just go, no, we're not paying you. And I was like, what the fuck? And I dispute it with CD Baby, and they go, oh, not our problem, take it up with Spotify. And
Total
Spotify
racket
never
on all
got
this,
back.
really, isn't it?
And now it's been pulled. So,
Yeah.
well, nice while it lasted. But
well, you know, let's hope we can sort that out somehow. But you know, a lot of my old band Nautilus's stuff is on CD, or was on CD Baby. I don't think anyone's logged into it for decades.
well, CD Baby's fine. It's Spotify. So, I mean, I don't know where else it was available. I mean, I've just dropped out of Spotify. That's my boycott. I've just gone, fuck you, Spotify. I'm just going to listen to the radio instead.
Yeah. But yeah, let's put all of those in the description, and we'll have a little get together before Christmas just to give it a play, and wish all our listeners and our viewers a Merry Christmas and that, you know.
Yeah, I mean, do you fancy coming up here? I mean, maybe you, me, and Paul can get together, or maybe we could all meet in the studio. I'll have to check my calendar, but we'll sort this out off air. And yeah. So well, let's just say thank you for watching to everybody.
Yeah. Thanks everybody for watching.
If you are, we might have sent them off to sleep. Yeah, might be a new thing that people with insomnia might start subscribing to our channel. And they go, I'm going to listen to this before I go to bed because these fuckers put me to sleep. But right, okay. Well, I'm going to hit the stop button and just say thank you for watching. As I said, put your technological gripes in the comments below. If you haven't already liked and subscribed, please do that. Please share it. Please help us grow this. Or like the AI bot for the last episode that put all that you're a white person, we hate you nonsense. It was like sort of weird.
What the hell was that all about?
Really, really weird. But it's probably because we had technology in the title. But let's see what sort of comments we get for this. So anyway, it's goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from him.
Goodbye.